So have you ever found yourself getting all tangled up and comparing your life to everyone else's? Or maybe trying to keep up with others financially? The struggle is real, right? I mean, if you think about things like fear of missing out, FOMO, stress, anxiety, it's a whole package deal. But what if there was a way to shake off that vibe? Now get ready, because today we've got the awesome Laura Eiman on the podcast. Now, Laura is a gold medal Olympic weightlifter and certified confidence coach. Now, Laura's gone from ordinary to extraordinary with her "oh, yes, I can" mindset, and she's here to spill the beans on kicking that fear of judgment, ditching the comparison game, and boosting confidence in your money matters. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast with Brad Nelson. Brad and his co-hosts experience the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck before learning the fundamentals of financial success. They are now on a mission to empower regular people to pay off their debt for good and enjoy happier, less stressful lives. Keep listening for inspirational interviews, tips, tricks, and practical advice to gain financial freedom.
I am Brad Nelson, founder of the Debt Free Dad, and I paid off about $45,000 of debt and have been debt-free now for more than 10 plus years. The good news is for you, I've helped thousands of other people save and pay off tens of millions of dollars over the years with the simple things that I learned how to implement in my life. And here's the deal. If you can implement these things into your life, you'll be able to do the same thing. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm so excited to have Laura joining us on today's podcast. But after listening to this episode, if you want to take this a step further, we've got some awesome tools to help you even further. And I'll be sharing some details about some of those later on in the show. Now, Laura Eiman is a gold medal Olympic weightlifter at age 64, mind you, and a certified confidence coach, a social media influencer, and a content creator. Life is really tough these days, says Laura. We live in an angry, chaotic world, and our work environments are constantly changing. I coach people on how to move beyond the chaos and develop a confident mindset and live balanced, joyful lives. Now, Laura's personal stories of achieving success by becoming mentally strong are a testimony to how powerful the mind is. Laura shouldn't even be alive today. Her epitaph was "Death by a Donuts and Dove Bars." A sugar addict and junk food junkie for 40 years, Laura developed a 4-step Get Confident program based on the mindsets of Navy SEALs and Olympic athletes to break away from these toxic habits. She's been off sugar and junk food for 23 years. Using her confidence skills, she launched a business in her spare bedroom, knowing nothing about business, that quickly garnered endorsements from Oprah and others on TV and 7 national women's magazines. At age 63, Laura started taking Olympic weightlifting lessons. Again, practicing her confidence strategies, she became Florida state champion, won a gold medal at the Pan Am Games, and qualified twice for the World Championships. She received coaching from Navy SEAL Commander Mark Devine and his team, and received his Unbeatable Mind coaching certification. Now, Laura is an ordinary person now doing extraordinary things and is a staunch believer that in all success begins by first developing a positive, "oh, yes, I can" mindset. Whether you want to lose weight, get that promotion, get out of debt, improve your marriage, it all begins within. She believes this so much that she has canceled all of her retirement plans and instead is happily spending the rest of her days helping others develop a confident, resilient mindset so they can live successful, fulfilling lives. So, hey, Laura, welcome to the Debt Free Dad podcast. So glad to have you on today.
Woo! Hello, Brad. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm your biggest fan.
Yeah, so for those who are listening, Laura and I got kind of introduced to each other through TikTok, which is funny. I found Laura's videos, and I'm assuming Laura's going to share where you can find her on TikTok here coming up. But man, she's had some great stuff, and a lot of you listening to this podcast know I've gone through some tremendous changes this past year, just with obviously losing Sarah, and it's been almost a year since that's happened. So it's I've been kind of soul searching, looking for things to keep me positive and all that. And all of a sudden Laura pops up in my TikTok feed and I'm like, who in the heck is this lady? And so I started watching your stuff, Laura. And I gotta say, it's just been, I told you this right before we hit record, it's just been so helpful because a lot of the things that you talk about is just, it's things that I think a lot of us might know, but we just tend to forget to practice some of these things. And it just serves as such great reminders of how much mindset can change the trajectory of your life, no matter what you're going through. And I think you're going to share more of that coming up. But man, so excited to have you on.
Thank you. And really, it was love at first sight, everybody, when Brad contacted me. I said, who's this guy on TikTok? Because I get contacted a lot. But I checked him out and instantly saw the value in how phenomenal the work you're doing, Brad, is on helping people get out of debt. I mean, it is so important. It is so important. And I'm not even in debt, thank you, God. But I follow you every single day to get that little jolt, that little wake-up call, because I'm telling you, everybody is susceptible to pulling out the credit card. We think we've got it under control, and all of a sudden, 3 months later, yowzo, what's that $1,500 doing on my credit card?
You got it.
So I listen to you every day to keep me mentally tuned in to staying out of debt.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much. And like I said, coming from you, that means everything, because man, you've got quite the story. You've got a lot of stuff that you've done, and I wanted to bring you on because I think a lot of the things that you share fit into a lot of personal finance mindset, getting out of debt, and just being better with our finances. And so many people are struggling with this. So I think your message is going to be so good today. So, a lot of us struggle with this whole thing of fear of missing out or keeping up with friends and family, or maybe fearing judgment from other people about how we're living our life or the things that we have in our life or the way that we manage our money. One of the things, Laura, that comes to mind right now is the Stanley Cup craziness that's going on right now. So many people are running around for these cups, and we almost get like this herd mentality of just keeping up with what's ever fresh or new or shiny object out here. How do we break away from this when it comes to our financial mindset? Because for a lot of us, including me at one time, it kept me stuck, just wanting to keep up with friends and family and coworkers and what everybody else was doing with their money. But sadly, so many people are broke, and shockingly, I woke up and I was broke too. So what are some ways to challenge that mindset of what's going on in society and social media?
Yeah, great question. I think that for us to change our mindset, which is really kind of a hard thing to change because we get locked in to our beliefs and our attitudes about ourselves and the world around us, we can so easily get locked into feeling less than. And it could come from a million different reasons why, family of origin, our religion, the culture we grew up in, the country we grew up in. It doesn't matter. There are many, many factors, but we can be as adults walking around feeling less than, feeling insecure. It's really common. But when it gets out of control to the point where we start comparing ourselves to others, and we need to keep up with others to make us feel like we're worthy or of value, to me, that's a cancer that has crept into our mindset. And hopefully somebody or many people listening to this today will say, yeah, I do end up comparing myself to others. Have you ever heard the phrase, whenever I step up to the comparison table, I always lose?
Wow, that's so good. So true.
So you're buying that Stanley Cup, who knows why, many reasons why, to keep up, to be part of the crowd. Herd mentality is very true. But we're kind of consciously or unconsciously comparing ourselves. We want to be like the neighbor next door. And I'm here to say, stop the insanity right now. You are better than that. Your neighbor may be great, but stop comparing yourself to them. It's none of your business what they do. It's all about your business. And here with Brad on Debt Free Dad, it's all about, what are your finances up to? Can you afford the Stanley Cup? And even if you can, that's just crap in the landfills, but we won't go there.
Yeah.
So when we compare ourselves, it's a cancer. So really the way to shift out of that is to just put on the brakes. And I'll tell you, Brad, pain is a powerful motivator. When we're in pain enough, and we're sick and tired of feeling less than and comparing ourselves, and sick and tired of being in debt, we can use that pain to say, wait a minute, I want to make a change. So that pain becomes making a decision today to change. And then it's, how do I do it?
Yeah.
You're a debt-free dad. But Brad, you cannot make the decision for everybody. We have to hit our bottom, stop comparing, and say, enough already. I want to raise my personal standards. I want to be better for myself and my family. Enough of this shit of buying crap I don't need.
Right.
I want to tune into debt-free dad instead. So it starts by making a decision, which is so basic. People say, well, okay, tell me something I don't know. You don't know that if you're still in debt. You haven't made the decision.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you just did a TikTok about this. You mentioned waking up in the morning to decide how you're going to go throughout your day. Make a decision before you put your feet on the ground. And that is so good because, man, I got to tell you, there's so many mornings where I wake up and, I'm kind of getting used to this. Well, I'm slowly getting used to this whole single parent life and just this whole 180-degree turn in my life. And there are some mornings I wake up and it's just like, I just don't know if I have the energy for this today. And I don't know what. As I go throughout my morning, I'm more cranky with waking up with that mindset, or as opposed to, waking up and instead saying like, I'm going to do the best I can today. And today's going to be better than yesterday. But it's amazing though, just how that little shift can make such a difference in your day. And can you talk about how that kind of fits into just, waking up and, like you mentioned, just making a decision? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. And you're right. Before your feet even hit the ground, it's what I call my AM ritual. Now, people all start their day a different way. I start my day exactly the same way with a number of things that I go through. And everybody's different. What my way is not your way, but I'd love to plant the seed in your mind to create the right way for you. Part of my AM ritual is, what's my intention for today?
Yeah.
How do I want to live today? Like this morning, for example, I really was grumpy this morning. And it's, 7 degrees out, it's gray, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't really feeling in a great mood today. So before I even got out of bed, I said a prayer, which is my choice to do that, saying, I really need some help today because I'm not feeling the love. And I want to make a decision about how I'm going to do my day before I even brush my teeth. And you don't have to have the answer come right away, but what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to saying, I want better than just being grumpy all day. Now, I'm not talking about this toxic positivity stuff or being a Pollyanna. We don't have good days sometimes.
Yeah.
And even starting your day with the prayer and the intention, you might not hit a home run today. But by starting your prayer with making a decision to stick to your debt-free dad plan, making a decision to set an intention, you're way better off after you get out of bed and start brushing your teeth than if you hadn't spent those 3 minutes with yourself.
Yeah, so good. Yeah, I realize, most of the day is won right up here. It really is. No matter what's going on in your life, you have the power to say, how is this going to affect me and how am I going to respond to it? And it is I think it's
really, really important to acknowledge that not every day is going to be your birthday.
Yeah.
But every day can be a day when you stay on your plan to get out of debt. You can have a crappy day, but maybe your only intention is to say, hey, I'm going to go to my, Roots workbook or my, budgeting workbook that Brad has offered, and I'm going to do my, 10 minutes, and that's all that's required today.
Yeah.
And you might still be kind of grumpy today, but you're still way ahead of if you were spending and not having any intention.
Yeah. I love that you're real about it because you are so right when it comes to this. I think you said toxic positivity, that, every day could be a great day, and that's just not real. It's the same thing we tell people when, it's managing your finances. Even being debt-free myself, I still have days where I don't get it right. I'm human. There's a lot of behavior, habits, and choices involved with money and money management. And when you're going through some tough stuff in your life, even with all the years that I've been doing this and coached so many people, I'm real with people and I say, look, I don't get it right every day either. And that's okay. You're not going to get it right every day, but if you get the majority of the days right, then success comes. And that's what you just got to commit to, is that, some days aren't just going to be as good as others, and that's totally okay. So mindset is huge, and what we struggle with a lot here at Debt Free Dad and people opening up and wanting to get help with their finances is this whole mindset of, I'm always going to live paycheck to paycheck, or I'm always going to have credit card debt, or I'm never going to get ahead. I'm always just going to have bills. And, it's just this repetitive thing that we tell ourselves over and over again, that we believe it so much that we don't even feel like there's really any other way to live life. What suggestions would you give to somebody, or maybe even people that you've coached that really struggle with just opening their mind to different thoughts, different things, different ideas, and not only open their mind to them, but being willing to try some of that stuff? Like what would you suggest?
Yeah, really a good question. People come to you, and you see this every day, Brad. They're in despair. And maybe they've tried 10 times to get out of debt before. They live in paycheck to paycheck. That's the reality. And thank goodness they're coming to you, because you are very practical and you don't gild the lily. You're very honest with them. But when somebody says, I'm never going to get out of debt, I'm always going to live paycheck to paycheck, the first thing I say to them is, if you believe that, you're right.
So true.
I can't change that. That is absolutely your right to think that, if you really believe it. But if you are in enough pain and you want to give it a shot with Debt-Free Dad, the first thing I would suggest is to say, I may believe it, but I'm not going to buy into it for 24 hours. I'm going to intentionally open my mind and hear what Brad has to say and get rid of that toxic voice in the back of my head. I call those toxic voices stray dogs barking at the kitchen door. They come prowling around at all times of day or night. You're there doing the dishes, and here comes a stray dog saying, you'll never get out of debt. You're living paycheck to paycheck, and you stop washing the dishes and you say, yeah, they're right. They're right. And then you realize, no, they're just a stray dog barking at the back door. You take your foot and you slam the door shut, and you go back to washing your dishes and say, I'm not going to buy into it. I'm going to go to Brad instead. I'm going to go and listen to 3 minutes of him on TikTok. And you might even have some laughs because his video memes are hilarious. So it really starts with, you got to kick yourself in the butt and say, yeah, I feel that way, but I'm not going to buy into it just for 24 hours. 1-800-BRAD, here I come.
Yeah. That's so good. And I think the other thing too, when it comes to this, is like, you don't have to do it all at once, and I think, sometimes, and I've been guilty of this, we see something, we're like, we need to make a change, and we try to do everything all at one time. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't do this, because making changes is physically and mentally draining. Right. And before you know it, you do too much and you end up quitting everything altogether. So you talked about in one of your TikToks, actually, I think just last couple of days, is just what's one thing? It's like one thing that you can do, just one, not 12 things, not 15 things, just what's one thing that you can do today. And I love that idea, because it makes it more achievable than, say, looking at the whole picture of how am I going to pay off all of this debt, rather than how can I pay off just this one debt? And then when that one's done, we're going to work on that next one.
Yep. It's baby steps. Building an empire is brick by brick by brick, no matter what you're doing. Getting out of debt, losing 100 pounds, starting a new business, saving up for a house. Everything that is exciting and big that we want in our lives is baby steps, and it's consistency, And I think one of the things that is really important to remember, which is not talked about very much, is every day you're taking that baby step forward and getting out of debt. At nighttime, I encourage you, while you're doing the Roots program, to really turn inward and say, I respect myself for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because I think people lose their self-respect and are in a lot of shame when they're looking at credit card or debt of any kind. It's just a shame buster. It's a confidence crusher. And so really what I encourage you to do is to say, go me at the end of every single day. Today I stuck to my plan. I respect myself. I love myself. I'm doing it for my family. And the truth is, it might be just a crashing bore and you feel like you're never going to get out of debt. But again, you get rid of those stray dogs and you say, I respect myself today for what I did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How does that sound?
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Self-positive talk. Yeah. Very good.
It's real. It's real talk.
Yeah.
And then you've got Brad, Debt-Free Dad, and his team in the background every single day on TikTok and Instagram, giving you a little, boost of inspiration or kick in the butt or reality check. So you're not alone doing this. You're not in the desert wandering around doing this alone. You're on a very specific plan. You're on you got a proven strategy that you're following, because Brad's walking his talk.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you plug into that good juice every day.
Yeah. So good. Speaking of juice, now,
yes,
you're an Olympic weightlifter. You run, and by the way, you can talk a little bit about that because I'm interested. You run a successful business. What do you think for you have been the keys to long-term progress in your opinion? Like, when we talk about anyone can do anything for 30, 60, or 90 days. But it's the long term, it's the long game plan where a lot of us struggle. It's that consistency, it's that discipline. What do you feel is like the difference maker in getting past that and being able to get that long-term success?
The long-term success all begins with having a really good reason for why you're doing it. Because on those cold, rainy days, when you don't feel like it, you're going to tune into your juicy reason for why you're doing it to get out of bed. That's going to motivate you. So for example, you want to get out of debt. Let's say you got 80 grand in debt or whatever. It doesn't matter how much it is. 80 grand in debt. You're taking something away. You're removing spending, right? And you're working on a budget. Well, what's going to fill that void? It's up to you, and Brad can work with you on this, to fill it with a juicy reason for why you're getting out of debt. You get a vision board going. You get reasons for why you're going to do this, right? You have reasons for why you get out of bed on a cold, rainy day and go to the gym because you want to lose that 50 pounds. Well, why? So you have to have a juicy reason that trumps the spending of the credit card, which doesn't feel good. So the juicy reason has to be better than going out and spending money today. It's got to be a whole lot better. It's got to always trump it. And then that helps you to stay consistent and motivated because you're going to have plenty of days when you just don't feel like it.
Right.
Like I said, we're human, but that reason why keeps you going. When I was doing my Olympic weightlifting, I had like 5 or 6 really juicy reasons for why I was doing it. It was the most grueling, of any sport I'd ever done. And some of your whys can be so personal you don't even share them, which is fine. And some you can share freely. So it's all about getting it on your vision board and then taking the action steps and committing every day. Yeah. My intention today is to stay out of debt. My intention is to tune into Debt Free Dad on Instagram. My intention is to work on the workbook for 10 minutes. And then my intention is to have respect for myself at the end of the day for the good work I've done.
Yeah. I think what I want to hit on what you just said, though, is I think what brings a lot of shame to people, or maybe what they feel is there's something wrong with me, is that they don't feel like doing it. And I think the reality is for most of the things to be successful in life, you're not going to want to do it. You're not going to feel like doing it. Like, people will come up to me and they'll say, man, you just must love this money stuff. You must just love budgeting and saving and all that. And I look at them and I'm like, not really. I don't love it just as much as you don't love it. But here's why I do it, because it gives me peace. I can sleep at night. I know my kids are taken care of. I know I don't have to worry about when things pop up or emergencies show up. There's so many benefits of all of the work that I've put in, but it doesn't mean that I want to do it. I don't want to do it. I just do it because of what you said is that juicy why, or that reason, because that's where the payoff is. And I think the people that are out there, we need to realize, like, there's nothing wrong with you if you don't feel like doing it. Like, I don't want to do my finances. I must be dumb at it. No, that's just, I think, human for a lot of us. It's just not much fun for a lot of us to do. Like you mentioned, weightlifting or working out. I feel the same way. I hate working out. I hate it. But I feel great that I did it once it's done. But the next day I have to battle myself to get right back there the next day, because it's not something I just love doing, but I love what it does for me, right?
Right. Well said. Well said. And you keep repeating over and over, a lot of this isn't fun. But we're all grown-ups here, and we have choices every day. And you have the choice, you folks out there, to stay in debt and stay in pain. And that's your choice. Or you have the choice to say, the pain of changing is going to be less than the pain of staying in debt. Today, I make the decision. So it's really kind of a cold, hard truth. Nobody can make the decision for you. And yeah, I hear you. You don't feel like doing it. For years, I didn't feel like doing much of anything. My life was in the gutter for decades, Yeah. But you finally get to the point where you say, I'm done. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And it's really interesting, Brad, because we don't know when a person is going to make that decision.
Yeah.
It's just the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your life was in the gutter, and I'm just curious, just for everyone here, what made you decide to make some changes and get into this line of work and doing some of the stuff that you do?
Well, about when I was in my mid 40s, I was just a miserable person. I was very depressed. I played the victim role. I was angry. I was newly divorced. I had 2 young kids. I didn't have a career direction. I was lost. I was just hating myself, hating life. The only thing I cared about was my 2 kids. And I was also a full-blown sugar addict. And I just posted today on social media, TikTok and Instagram, about that. It's getting a huge hit. I was a full-blown sugar addict. And addiction is addiction, no matter what, whether it's spending money, booze, sex, drugs, whatever. Addiction is a nightmare.
Yep.
And one day, in my depths of despair, being in the gutter, I was at my neighbor's house and they were watching a documentary on the Navy SEALs. I didn't even know who they were.
Right.
But there I was with my box of chocolate chip cookies, binging on sugar, and I didn't have anything else to do. So I started watching the Navy SEAL documentary with my neighbors. And I got so mesmerized by them. And I turned to my neighbor, Dan, and said, "Who are these guys? They're so mentally tough. They're fit. They care about each other. They respect themselves. They work as a team. They've got integrity, commitment. I want what they have." And I was realizing they had a mindset that I lacked. I said, "They're so mentally tough. I'm such a mental weenie." And Dan looked at me and said, "Are you on some kind of sugar high? Are you now going to go join the Navy SEALs at age 48? And I said, "I think so." That's exactly what I'm going to do. And I got up and I threw the box of cookies in his lap, and I went home and I cried for the millionth time. And that was my final hitting bottom. And it was just the right place at the right time. That documentary on the Navy SEALs and the mindset of those men. I said, what if I applied that? I'm not going to battle, but I've got my own battles. What if I applied that to my own life? That was my last time I ever ate any sugar or junk food. That was 23 years ago. And I made changes because I was so in pain, and I just had a wake-up call, and it was the Navy SEALs. Yeah. And to this day, so then I went to the library, I studied their mindset, I started studying Stoicism, and I incorporated this into me turning my life around. And my why at the time was my children. Wow. I didn't care about me or my life. Yeah. I cared about my children. And just like you say, you don't want to be in debt anymore because you want the peace of mind. You want to build a life for your children. And that's beautiful stuff. Man, that'll get you out of bed on a rainy day. Yeah. So from there, I slowly rebuilt my life. I haven't eaten junk food or sugar in 23 years.
Good for you.
And I started their mindset, slow build. But I said, I can't be a victim anymore. That was just crushing me. And so it took a long time. But then when the mindset work started working for me of being mentally tough, like a Navy SEAL, I said, well, I want to share this with other women. And it's really interesting because I actually got my coaching degree from Navy SEAL Commander Mark Devine and his Navy SEAL team out in California. During COVID, I got a confidence coaching certification. But it's when we change our mindset around that we're setting ourselves up to be able to win more. If we have a positive attitude and take action steps on a daily basis, then things start to happen that wouldn't have happened before. And I started to have successes in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You mentioned, and I know I didn't throw this question at you when we were, hey, what are the things we're going to talk about? But you bring this up, playing the victim. And I think, we've been kind of mentioning TikTok here, and I know there's a lot of TikToks out there right now just talking about how are people affording life, and people are, talking about their finances, and it's tough right now because of inflation. And I've noticed a pattern in a lot of these videos, though, where nobody takes any real accountability for what they've done to be where they're at financially. We tend to want to point the finger at everything else, the person who's in the White House, or my job, or the amount of money I make, or my spouse, or it's countless things. Like, how did you break away from that? Because I had to do it too. I'm just curious how you did that in your journey. Like, how did you? Because it's so easy to fall into that, right? And just make excuses on why I'm stuck. You really have to stand up and take personal accountability. Okay, what are the things that I can control? So I'm just curious, how did you break away from that to get to where you are today?
You see, listeners, this is why you should follow Debt Free Dad. This guy is so spot on and so accurate. You're absolutely right. It's human nature to play the blame game. The president in the White House, politics, the economy, whatever. And those are very real situations going on. But when we're pointing a finger, we are not doing anything to better ourselves. We're just sitting on the sidelines, throwing rotten tomatoes at somebody else for causing our alleged problem. And how I broke that was, again, by going to the Navy SEALs, who, just like the Army Rangers, the Marines, they have what is called extreme accountability. And I'd never heard that before, but when I started listening to all the podcasts and reading the books about how their mindset is, I am responsible for myself. I am even responsible for my team on the battlefield, right? That extreme accountability is so crucial to getting success. You have a choice. You can sit on the sidelines and blame everybody else and get nowhere and just be a loudmouth on social media. That's your choice. Or you can say, I'm going to stop that victim stuff because I'm the only one that's getting hurt by it. And I'm going to take accountability for my actions and say, what can I do today to be a little bit better than yesterday? What can I do today to stay out of debt and pay off that credit card? Yeah. Right? Extreme accountability is something that people should, if they really want to grow and they want to be successful, has to be one of their core values. Yeah. So thank you for mentioning that. That is huge.
Yeah. So good. So good. So obviously you decided to kind of go on this journey, take your life back later in your years, and now here you are, and in your bio, I mean, you've mentioned, like, I'm forgoing retirement because I am so dedicated and passionate about how I'm helping people. So with that said, what advice would you give? And I want two areas of this. What advice would you give to, say, someone who's younger? And then also, what advice would you give to, say, someone who's older and is saying, like, I'm too old to get started. It's too late for me. It's too late to pay off debt. Like, I've made my mistakes. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? What two pieces of advice would you share to those different age groups right now?
It's those, again, it's a little bit repetitive, but what we're talking about here are some basic steps to bettering your life. So when those voices in your head, those stray dogs are saying, I'm too old to get out of debt, or somebody who's young saying, I'm too overwhelmed to look at this college loan that I've taken out. It's really more of those stray dogs barking at your back door, barking, and you have a choice to say, I'm not going to buy into it. I want better for myself, whether I'm 80 years old or I'm 28. It doesn't matter. I have choices every day. So again, it's extreme accountability. It's, I'm stuck. I want to get unstuck. I'm in so much pain. I'm going to stop complaining and follow Debt Free Dad. It's making that decision. And, you know, sometimes we get stuck, you know, like those little wind-up toys that the key and you march into a corner. You know, we all get stuck, and life is not a do-it-yourself program. We need people like Brad and coaches like me saying, I can help you get unstuck from being out of debt or whatever your toxic mindset is. I'm going to pick you up and turn you around, and we're going to march in another direction. And I, Brad, am going to give you strategies for how to get out of debt. Okay, you're not alone in this. I think a lot of times this toxic mindset, we're thinking we're all alone. I call it being terminally unique. Like, I'm the only one that feels this way. Nope.
Yeah.
But it's a stray dog saying, you know, you're too old, or you know, you're not smart enough, or you're whatever, and we buy into it.
Yeah.
You know, we have to get kind of mental. We have muscles that are kind of a little flabby.
Yeah.
Around. We got to toughen up those muscles, just like we need to make strong muscles by lifting weights. We got to get tough muscles in our mindset, where you help us do that. You're helping your group lift heavier weights.
Yeah, so good. Laura, can you share real quick? It's been so great to have you on, and I love everything what you got to talk about. And I think the cool thing about a lot of your social channels is you're talking about a vast amount of different topics and things. And that's the cool thing, I think, about a lot of the things. It's not the same repetitive stuff. It's like you're applying these things to like different areas of our lives. And that's why I love watching your stuff. So can you share with the audience how they can learn a little bit more about you, or if there's some sort of action that you want them to take? The floor is yours to share where they can get you.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, it's been amazing being on here. Thank you, Brad. And, in addition to following Brad on TikTok or Instagram, I would love to have you follow me. I post every single day, just like Brad and his team does. And on TikTok, you can find me. My username is Confidence Coach for Women. So that's where you can find me on TikTok. And Instagram is actually my name, Laura Eiman, LauraEiman. So I'm on both of those platforms right now. And really, it's kind of a daily drip of connecting with people who are positive, who want to help you become a little bit better every day. And you're right, I'm never going to retire because if there's one person I can reach today, just like you, Brad, my day has been a great day.
Yeah.
And we're all human. As I said, I follow you every day so that I don't slip into debt. And honestly, I'll share one more thing before we leave.
Yeah.
We're all susceptible to falling into debt. And I had a tragedy in my life this September as well. I lost my grandson. He was 7 days old. And so we're dealing with the grief, which is enormous. And, as we walk through that grief and that fire, a lot of your people, they've been through grief or dealing with grief now. They've been through trauma or crisis. And that can set us up to be victims.
Yeah.
We've done the work, we're doing the work to grieve, and then all of a sudden it's like, Brad, I'm on a spending spree right now, and I'm going to post this on social media, and I'm wondering, why am I not stopping this? I actually have $300 on a credit card I got to pay off as soon as I get off this podcast. What's that all about? I never use my credit card. And then the excuses come, well, you lost your grandson, you deserve it.
Yeah.
We're not immune to this. And I have to say, no, I don't need that coat. I have 4 coats in my closet. You deserve it. Baloney. So we have to be ever vigilant, right? So you tune in with people on social media that can keep you on track, and then you take your action steps because we're all susceptible to it. Yeah. And it's not being a victim. That's one of the biggest things to self-growth is saying, not going to go there.
Yeah. You're so right when it comes to that. I dealt with a lot of that this year, still dealing with it,
Yes.
And it comes in waves, it really does. And it shows up with different faces. It's really hard when it comes to grief and major changes that are going on in your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a death, but it could be a divorce or a loss of a job or lots of different reasons on why you might play victim, or this whole idea of I deserve it because I don't feel good, so I'm going to make myself feel good, right? It's, definitely challenging. So, Laura, go ahead, Laura, I'm sorry.
Well, just one, so for any of you who are listening or tuning in, if you're grieving or you're experiencing a tragedy, you are not alone. And don't buy into the fact that your grieving is very personal. It's your own journey, but you are not alone. You're not the only one going through it. And Brad is so here to help you. And so am I. So follow us on social media. And I'm grateful for all the work you're doing, Brad. I love you so much. And I appreciate knowing you and being here today.
Oh, Laura, thank you so much. I love you too. And seriously, I will put the links all in the show notes. So if you guys want to go find Laura, you can go to thedebtfreedad.com, look up the episode. All right. Episode number is going to be number 209. All right, episode 209. Just go to our podcast there on the website. You'll find those show notes. And obviously, as always, if you want more direct, send us an email and over at podcast@debtfreedad.com. And we're happy to send over Laura's information that way as well. Laura, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. And guys, you guys got to go follow Laura. Find her on Instagram, find her on TikTok, make it a part of that morning ritual to watch her stuff. It's been so helpful to me, and I am a big self-development person. And Laura has been just so good these last several months since I found her, and just so grateful she was able to take some time and hang out with me here today on the show to help you guys out too. So thanks so much, Laura.
Thank you, Brad. Take care.
All right. So the Totally Awesome Debt Freedom Planner is helping so many people make consistent progress with their finances. Whether that be building emergency funds, paying down bills, budgeting, tracking paydays, saving up for larger purchases, goal planning, and planning for those irregular yearly expenses that always seem to catch you by surprise. Now, the Debt Freedom Planner will help you take the stress out of managing your money. And if the thought is running through your mind, hey, I just need to have a simple tool to get my finances together, this planner is perfect for you. Head over to therealdebtfreedad.com, click on the Debt Freedom Planner in the menu at the top of the page, and order your Debt Freedom Planner today.
Let's talk about that, baby. Let's talk about your money. Let's talk about all the good things, all the bad things that may be. Let's talk about that.
All right, as you know, that sound means it's time for the celebrations of the show. And today we are kicking it off with Jess. Jess says, we completed the no spend challenge this week and ate home-cooked meals. I tweaked our budget based on a few recent updates, met with one of my accountability partners, and added to our manifestation boards. I also paid $1,387.25 towards debt. Jess, way to take some action. Great wins. Gina, I worked on updating my budget and participating in the weekly challenges. It has saved me about $80 this past week and helped me stay on my health journey. Gina, that is awesome. And yes, what she's talking about with our challenges is inside our Roots community. We do these monthly challenges to help keep people motivated, to keep it exciting to get out of debt. And check that out, $80 in savings in just 1 week with one of those challenges. That's incredible, Gina. So good job. Bonnie, I did not eat out when I went to town this week. Added another $20 to my Starbucks fund for not going to Starbucks when in town. That's awesome. So saving up and treating herself when she can. Saved $200 in an emergency fund. All my bills are paid on time. And I will have one more credit card paid off of $240.10. Bonnie, such great wins. Congratulations to you. And last but not least here today, Tammy, I got my budget done. Had to rearrange a few things to make it work, but I canceled YouTube TV and have not eaten out yet this month. Tammy, way to keep at it. Great job, great work. As always, congratulations to all of you guys who are taking a stand for your financial life and are just wanting better. We get that getting out of debt isn't easy. But with our help and with your consistency and discipline and hard work, we promise this will be some of the best work that you do in your entire life. Thanks for joining us here today, guys. We will see you on an upcoming episode.
Thanks for listening to the Debt Free Dad podcast. Connect with us on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Just search Debt Free Dad. If you found value in today's episode, please leave us a rating and review. We so appreciate it. For resources, show notes, and links mentioned in today's show, visit debtfreedad.com. Catch you next week.